They called her weak until she walked into the Admiral's office like she owned it.
They had already made up their minds about her. Before she spoke, before she acted, before she ever stepped into the building. Whispers followed her down the corridor. Quiet, careless words passed between uniforms that believed rank alone decided worth. Too small, too quiet, not built for command. She heard none of it, because when she reached the door at the end of the hall, everything else disappeared. The Admiral's office was sealed, thick wood, frosted glass, the kind of door you didn't knock on unless you were summoned. Inside, decisions were made that shifted fleets and ended careers. 2 senior officers stood outside, surprised to see her there. "Ma'am," one of them said carefully, "this meeting isn't for—" She opened the door anyway. No hesitation, no permission. Inside, the Admiral was standing by the window, hands behind his back, studying the harbor below. He turned slowly, already prepared to reprimand whoever had interrupted him. Then he saw her. She didn't salute immediately. She didn't rush to explain. She walked in, closed the door behind her, and stood exactly where a commanding officer would stand. The room felt smaller. The Admiral raised an eyebrow, not in anger, but in curiosity. "You're either lost or very confident." She finally met his eyes. "Neither, sir." She placed a single folder on his desk, not thick, not flashy, but marked with a clearance level that didn't belong to someone they had labeled weak. Outside the office, the corridor had gone quiet, because everyone could feel it. Something had just changed. Here on United War, this is the story of the moment judgment met reality and lost, and this was only the first step.
The Admiral didn't sit. He remained standing behind his desk, eyes fixed on the folder she had placed in front of him. He didn't open it yet. Instead, he studied her the way commanders studied battlefields, looking for weaknesses, patterns, tells. "Do you know what happens," he said slowly, "when someone walks into this office without permission?" She replied, "They're usually escorted out." "Usually," the Admiral said. He picked up the folder and turned it once, reading the clearance code again. His expression tightened, not with suspicion, but recognition. "That clearance doesn't match your file," he said. "It does," she answered. "It just wasn't updated where everyone could see it." The Admiral opened the folder. Inside were operation summaries, brief, surgical, stripped of emotion. Locations were redacted, but outcomes were unmistakable. Missions completed under conditions that should have ended differently. Names missing where names should have been. The Admiral looked up sharply. "These results," he said, "they belong to task groups, not individuals." She nodded. "I was never alone. I was just never listed." Outside the office, word was spreading fast. Officers slowed as they passed the door. No one dared interrupt, but everyone sensed that something unusual was unfolding inside. The Admiral leaned back slightly. "They say you lack command presence," he said, "that you don't project authority." She didn't react. "They say you're too quiet," he continued, "that you hesitate." This time, she allowed herself a breath. "I don't hesitate, sir. I calculate." The Admiral closed the folder. "Why are you here?" he asked, not as an accusation, but as a challenge. She met his gaze fully now. "Because someone in this building labeled me weak," she said, "and that label is about to cost lives." The Admiral's expression changed. "Explain." She stepped closer to the desk and pointed to a single page inside the folder. "That mission is scheduled for 48 hours from now," she said. "It's based on outdated threat models." The Admiral's jaw tightened. "And you're telling me this, why?" Because I've already run the scenario, she said, and it fails. Silence. Not doubt, not disbelief, concern. The Admiral realized then this wasn't ambition walking into his office, it was warning, and ignoring it would be a mistake he couldn't afford.
The Admiral didn't argue. That alone surprised her. Instead, he reached for the secure phone on his desk and pressed a single button. "Clear Conference Room 2, he said. "Now." Within minutes, senior officers filed in. Operations, intelligence, logistics. Faces that had passed her in the hallway without a second glance now studied her openly. Some skeptical, some curious, a few already defensive. The Admiral gestured toward the screen. "She says the mission fails," he said simply. "Convince us otherwise." No preamble, no protection, just a test. The scenario appeared, an offshore extraction followed by an inland transit. Clean on paper, efficient, exactly the kind of plan that impressed committees. She stepped forward. "You're assuming static resistance," she said, "but the enemy adapted 2 weeks ago." A few officers exchanged looks. "Our intel doesn't support that," one of them said. She tapped the screen. "It does," she replied, "if you stop reading summaries and start reading patterns." Routes shifted, timelines collapsed, safe zones turned red. "What you're calling hesitation," she said calmly, "is me refusing to move until I know which assumption will get people killed." The room grew tense. An operations officer leaned forward. "So what would you do differently?" She didn't smile. "I already did." She overlaid her plan. Leaner, quieter, less impressive on slides. No grand movements, no heroic pushes. Just survival. "If you proceed as planned," she said, "you lose 2 teams before dawn." Silence followed. The Admiral watched closely. "Run it," he ordered. The simulation began. Her plan held. The original plan collapsed. Not dramatically, not loudly, just enough to prove the point. The room shifted. Doubt turned into something uncomfortable. Recognition. One officer cleared his throat. "Who trained you?" She hesitated for the first time. "People who didn't get to argue in rooms like this," she said. The Admiral stood. "That's enough." He turned to the group. "You called her weak because she didn't sound like you. You doubted her because she didn't look like command." He looked at her. "And you walked in here knowing all of that." She nodded once. "Because someone had to." The Admiral exhaled slowly. And in that moment, the label that had followed her for years finally began to crack.
The room didn't empty right away. No one rushed to speak. No one challenged the results on the screen. The silence wasn't awkward. It was reflective. Plans had been broken, assumptions exposed, and egos quietly wounded. The Admiral broke the stillness. "Everyone out," he said. Chairs moved. Officers stood. Some avoided looking at her as they passed. Others nodded. Small gestures, but real ones. When the door closed, only the Admiral and her remained. "You knew this would happen," he said. "Yes, sir." "And you still walked in." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The Admiral moved back to his desk and sat for the first time since she entered. "They called you weak," he said. "Tell me why." She thought for a moment. "Because I don't waste energy proving myself," she said. "I use it solving problems." The Admiral studied her, this time not as a gatekeeper, but as a commander evaluating an equal. "You understand that strength," he said slowly, "isn't volume. It isn't posture. It's responsibility." She nodded. He opened a drawer and removed a new set of orders. "This mission," he said, sliding them across the desk, is being rewritten. He paused. You'll lead the planning. Not supervise, not advise. Lead. She accepted the orders without triumph. Outside the office, word spread quickly. The same voices that had once dismissed her now spoke her name carefully. Respect had replaced assumption. Later that night, she walked past the Admiral's office again. The door was open this time. He looked up. You didn't walk in like you owned this place, he said. She stopped. You walked in like you were responsible for it. She met his gaze. That's the difference. As she continued down the corridor, no one whispered. They watched. Because strength had just been redefined, not by force, but by clarity. This is united war, where real power doesn't announce itself, it proves itself.